Hi, today I'm going to be talking to you about financial literacy. How many of you struggled to make ends meet during the pandemic? How many of you lost jobs, went through all your savings, or worse yet, didn't have savings? During the pandemic, my mom stopped working for the majority of the year. My brother lost his job, and I had to take on the responsibility of house bills with only a part-time job and the majority of my savings to make ends meet. Savings, retirement funds, investment plans, they're all a critical part of life. Many people from the ages 18 to 34 are not sufficiently prepared or educated enough to be prepared. Financial literacy is a critical tool that allows us to manage our money and plan for future expenses, which is why it is so crucial that the California state should implement mandatory financial literacy programs in all public high schools. In this speech, I will be talking about the problems that the lack of financial literacy creates, how that affects us, and why it should be implemented in all high schools. So what's the problem? Adults over the age of 18 who have not been trained to save their money, pay off their debt quickly, invest smartly, and plan for their retirement age find themselves borrowing more and more and continue working well after retirement just to make ends meet. This specifically affects adults over 18. Those who are a minority, and those who come from lower income families. This problem is particularly seen in families that don't practice responsible financial behaviors and those that have no access to financial education regarding financial literacy. For example, in 2019, the Journal of Consumer Affairs estimates that 46% of adults who are between the ages 18 and 34 use credit options with outrageous fees and high interest rates that make it hard for them to pay back. In 2014, Time magazine reported that by the time adults reach retirement, they have not sufficiently planned enough to maintain their standard of living and require a part-time job to make ends meet. So now that I've talked about how the lack of financial literacy affects us, let's talk about what causes it. In 2019, the author Melody Harvey reported that several studies showed that consumers with little to no knowledge in financial literacy are more likely to use loans. Why? There are not enough financial education programs in high schools that teach adults to properly save, invest, and plan for retirement. Only in the recent years has there been an initiative to provide free financial education to a small selection of California high schools, and it's only been done by financial institutions like Bank of the West and California Credit Union. For example, in 2016, the district administration reported that California high schools were among the lowest ranking states to produce financially literate high school graduates. In 2016, Equity Bytes reported that the Bank of the West provided free financial education to only 30 schools in 3 California locations. In 2017, PR Newswire reported that the California Credit Union provided free education programs to only 10 high schools. There's 1,300 high schools in California. So now that I've talked about the lack of financial program, let's move on to what we can do to better incorporate financial management. All California high schools should teach financial literacy as a mandatory course. Financial education taught earlier leads to better financial choices and behaviors as adults. When financial education is mandated, particularly in high school, the Journal of Consumer Affairs found that students were more likely to increase financial behaviors in savings and wealth accumulation, as well as have higher credit scores and lower loan delinquencies. So what can we do today to solve this issue? We can start today by advocating for financial literacy programs in all high schools. Or start with something smaller. Take a course in financial management. So, in conclusion, I've covered how important financial education is and why we should implement it in all our public high schools. The COVID-19 pandemic left many of us unprepared and made real how weak our financial stability was. It is crucial that all California public high schools begin to carry out mandatory financial literacy programs so that we can all learn to accumulate wealth, plan for the future, and prepare for retirement. So as I finish, I will leave you with this quote by Robert Kiyosaki. Academic qualifications are important, and so is financial education. They're both important, and schools are forgetting one of them. Thank you.